Hi, I'm Stu from Hive Mind Automation and welcome back to the Hive. In this video, we're going to be unboxing and reviewing this TP-Link Tapo pan tilt security camera. As always, we'll take a look at what's in the box. We'll talk about the build quality, and we're going to take a look at the native app from the manufacturer, and we're going to see if we can get it working with Home Assistant. So for all that and more, while I roll the intro, take a moment to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you get notified when I release new videos each week. And let's get started. Now, for some background on why I bought this camera when I've already got Ubiquiti cameras in the house, I need to tell you that for nearly a year, we've been without a cat. And last week, we finally decided that it was time to change that, and we adopted Whiskey here. She's a 1.5-year-old domestic short hair from a nearby shelter. Now, according to a whole bunch of research on the internet, which is also known as Googling, the first few weeks with a new cat in your home, it's advisable for them to have a safe space room as their home base while they get used to new humans and slowly explore the house from that safe space. So Whiskey's been exploring the house a bit this week, but she tends to spend nights in the main bathroom where we've put a nice bed, fresh water, food and a litter box out for her. But we also wanted a way to monitor her overnight, and also moving forward would like to be able to keep an eye on her when we are out and about. Now, as you might have seen in a previous video, I have Ubiquiti Unify cameras and a Ubiquiti Dream Machine Pro with Unify Protect to manage the IPTV cameras around the house, and we'll actually be doing more videos on those later, so get subscribed. But the Ubiquiti cameras aren't necessarily the right solution for this particular use case, and they're not necessarily accessible for most people because they require cabling and controllers to set them up properly, and they're designed to really be a permanent install. And we wanted something that's a little bit more portable because, at least for now, it's going in the main bathroom, and installing a permanent Unify camera in the main bathroom might seem a little bit creepy if we have guests over. Enter the TP-Link Tapo C210 camera, which I ordered from Amazon for $62, and there'll be an affiliate link in the video description. Affiliate links don't cost you any more, but they do help me out if you buy through them by giving me a couple of dollars for the referral. Now, I've been wanting to take a look at some more affordable IP cameras for a while, and I had a good opinion of the TP-Link brand smart switches and power boards, so I figured the TP-Link Tapo range was a good choice. Now, I have bought cheap IPTV cameras in the past, like this Office One IP camera that I bought from Kmart coming up to about 10 years ago. And for $50 from Kmart, it's lasted really quite well. But the resolution is 640 by 480. And the image sensor may actually be a potato. The frame rate's pretty bad, but it does the job, and the pan, tilt and zoom functions are pretty helpful, although the zoom function is digital zoom. Now, not only did I pick up the TP-Link Tapo from Amazon, but right before filming this video, we were in our local Big W store, and I grabbed this Mirabella Genio smart camera that we'll look at in another video to look at doing some comparisons between the two cameras and also the Ubiquitis, and we'll see about some others. So back to the TP-Link camera, it is definitely worth noting that I wasn't able to find a native integration in Home Assistant for the Tapo platform. But we will get to that problem a bit later in the video because there may be a solution for it. So we'll take a look around the box now. On the front, we see that it is 3 megapixel full HD. It's actually slightly more than full HD. And it's pan and tilt, home security, Wi-Fi camera. But it doesn't mention zoom on here, so we might need to test that out. Got motion detection notifications, night vision up to 30 feet, and that's roughly 10 meters or so. The 3 megapixel full HD, which is 1296p, but it also does 1080p. And it mentions here that it also has a micro SD card slot for up to 256 gigabyte micro SD. The TP-Link branding there. And over here we see that it works with Google and Amazon. Most of the same features are duplicated on the back of the box, with the inclusion of the 360-degree horizontal field of view. The privacy mode is interesting there. We've got two-way audio, which wasn't mentioned on the front. So it has a mic and a built-in speaker allowing for that. Sharing, live view, and the easy setup. On this side, it is more of the same, so local storage and position anywhere you need. And lastly, on this side, we actually have some specifications. Model number, the C210, the 360-degree horizontal field of view. So that's referring to the panning function there, rather than it being a 360-degree from a single point. From a single vantage point. The video definition is 2308 by 1296 pixels, which I did a quick calculation and that seems to come out for a 16:9 ratio. It mentions the two-way audio again with the built-in microphone and speaker. The night vision infrared LED emitter is 850 nanometer infrared, and it's up to 30 feet. We have wireless B, G, and N protocols on the 2.4 gigahertz spectrum, and we've got an international adapter for 100 to 240 volts at 50 or 60 hertz, and the adapter outputs 9 volts at 0.6 amps for a total of 5.4 watts. The package contents here tell us that we can expect the camera, the DC power adapter, the quick start guide, some mounting screws, a mounting template, and a camera base. So I'm just going to tear off the shrink wrap here, and we open it from the side and pop that over on this camera here. Okay, so we'll start in the top left here, and we've got the power adapter, and it looks like it's got a fairly decent length cable on there that's bundled up there. Let me give that a rough measure. So it's 1, 2, 3, so it's a little bit over, I'd say it's about 3 meters long, maybe a little bit more, and that's really quite nice because the Kmart one that I showed you before, the power cable on that is about a meter, if that, and that is quite restrictive. So also down here we've got our camera base, so we can screw that to the wall or the ceiling, and inside this soft baggie here, yeah, so there's the camera, so that's how the base would clip in. It just kind of goes in and then it's a quarter turn, and out comes the camera. So a little white kind of dome unit. There's not much to it. The only port on the camera itself is the power inlet, and I can see the speaker grill at the back here. The design's not too bad. For some reason it reminds me of the movie WALL-E. I think there was that white robot that he fell in love with. It kind of reminds me of that a little bit. So I'll just pop that there for now. And also in the cardboard, there's a little baggie with some screws here. So I'll put the box aside So looking at the unit, I'm wondering where the SD card goes, because I can't see a port for it. There it is. So what I've done there is I've rolled the tilt all the way up, and you can see that there is the SD card slot, the micro SD slot, and there's also a tiny little reset button there. I've got this 64 gig SanDisk Extreme Pro micro SD card here. I'm going to pop that in and we'll test out that recording function a little bit later. Also in the box we have our mounting template. I'm not sure that that's coming up. We've got a little mounting template sticker for the mounting plate and our quick start guide, which I'll take a quick look at. Download the app, power it up, set it up. It's pretty basic quick start guide. It shows you how to get to the micro SD card slot. We do need to initialize that in the app. That's all fine. It's got some mounting instructions in there as well. Now, I will say that the build quality just feels a little bit cheap. The plastic is, I'm going to say it's most likely polycarbonate. If you've watched any of my videos about the Arlec Grid Connect smart switches, the energy monitoring and non-energy monitoring smart switches, it feels like that plastic. It's hard to describe. It just feels a little bit cheap and tinny. Look, I'm not expecting miracles for $62, but it just feels a bit cheap. Compared to the Kmart one though, I mean, the Kmart one feels like it's made from the same plastic. It's just black instead of white. So now that we've got it out of the box and we've looked at the build quality, I'm going to plug it into power and we're going to get it set up in the native app. So I'll plug the power in here, and we've got a light, and I can see some infrared LEDs there as well. So they're definitely not just infrared, they're also quite a bit into the red spectrum. So because you can actually see them with the naked eye, I'm just going to pop the camera down there. We'll capture the iPhone screen and we will get it set up. Now, having been powered on now for about a minute, it is now finding the limit switches of the pan function. Interestingly, the entire body of the camera seems to rotate rather than just the dome at the top, and it's now doing the tilt function as well. So I'll cut over to the iPhone now and we'll get the app set up. Alrighty, so now over on our iPhone, I'm going to search for Tapo and we'll tap on Tapo. When I first opened this app, it did ask me to allow it some permissions on the iPhone, which I've already allowed, but now we're being asked to consent to some privacy and policy and terms of use, which we're going to need to in order to use the product. So I'm going to tap continue on there, and it's going to ask me to sign in with my TP-Link email and password. So I'll do that now. So the good news is that I was able to sign in using my Casa Smart credentials, so I didn't need to set up a new account in order to use the Tapo. So Casa and Tapo can use the same account. Now, I've been asked if I want to save my password, and I've said yes to that. We are in Australia, it's figured that out, but you can change your country here if you need to. We'll tap done on that, and we are at the My Home screen. So let's go through pairing the camera. I'm going to tap on the plus to add devices, and it's going to ask for local network permission. I believe I've already done that, but if I tap go to network settings, it'll take us to the Tapo app settings, and you can allow the local network settings. We'll pop back and we'll go, I've already given Tapo network permission, and we now get to choose our device. Now you'll see that we've got the cameras at the top. There's also the plugs in the Tapo range, light bulbs, LED strips. There's a few different things in the Tapo range, and depending on how well this test goes, I might get some more things from the TP-Link Tapo range. I'm going to select the C210 camera, and it says power up and check the LED. Plug in and wait about 30 seconds until the LED blinks red and green. Keep your phone or tablet close to the Tapo device throughout the setup. Now, mine is blinking red and green slowly, so it's not quite as fast as that, but it is blinking red and green, so I'll tap next. And it's asking me to allow location, which I don't think is recording, so I will allow while using the app. Now it's asking me to connect to the Tapo device Wi-Fi, so I'm going to pop over to my settings app again, and we'll go to the Wi-Fi there, and we need to select the Tapo Cam wireless access point, and it's saying that it is an unsecured network, which is fine. We'll swipe back over here to the app and go, I'm already connected. Seems you're not connected to Tapo Cam. Okay, so it found it, and now it's searching for a Wi-Fi network. So it's showing all the Wi-Fi networks it can see. I'm going to select HiveMind Automation, and I'm going to put in the HiveMind Automation network password, and I will make sure that save password is checked, and I'm going to tap next. And it then shows me the password in plain text, even though I tapped to hide it, so I'm not super happy with that, but sure, I'll tap next. I'll have to blur that out. Okay, so it just said connecting Wi-Fi with an American accent.
Wi-Fi connected.
Wi-Fi connected. So it seems to have voice notifications, which is interesting. Ding. Okay, so now it's saying that we need to connect back to the other network. Now I'm gonna just check what network I'm on. Now I'm on the Force, but that network is tied to the HiveMind Automation network anyway. So I'll tap I'm already connected. I'm just going to tap continue, and I'm going to change this name from Tapo Camera AC whatever. I'm going to call it Cat Cam. Next. So we can set a location: baby room, balcony, bathroom, doghouse, warehouse. I'm going to go with doghouse. It's probably the closest to it. I'll tap next. So we've configured it and it's ready to use. There's a button to go mount to the wall. So I'm assuming that that then takes you through some instructions to then mount it to.
The SD card is not formatted, but is formatted according to the app guidelines.
So it's just told me that the SD card's not formatted and to please format it according to the app guidelines. That's fine. I'm going to tap sounds good on this Tapo device completed, and it's saying about local recording, insert a micro SD card. It's recommended to use a class 10 or higher with storage from 8 to 256 gig. We need to initialize the micro SD card in the Tapo app, and we not to format it on the computer using a third-party software. We'll tap next, and we can sign up to cloud storage if we want to. So with Tapo Care, our events are recorded and you can easily review them anytime, anywhere. We get unlimited secure storage of videos in the cloud, and you can start a 30-day free trial. I'll be interested to take a look at the price of that, but I'm not going to look at that just yet. I'm just going to tap got it so that we can get going. We can create third-party services, so we can add it to Amazon, we can add it to Google, and we can add it to Siri. I'm going to tap maybe later on those, and we can set up connections with third-party services in Me, third-party services later. So we'll tap got it, And now we have cat cam in the doghouse, which doesn't make sense, but that's fine. I'm going to tap on cat cam, and it's telling us that a new micro SD card's identified, and to use that we need to initialize it. All data will be deleted once initialized. I'm going to initialize that card. So it says, welcome to Tapo camera. Check out what your Tapo camera can do. So we'll tap go, and it's taking us through a guided tour. So two-way audio to communicate with nosy roommates, family, or even mischievous pets. Exactly what I need. And it's got tilt up and down, pan left and right, almost 360 degrees, giving you complete freedom to focus on the angles most important to you. Activity zones, so we can monitor specific portions of the camera's view for motions and configure activity zones in camera settings. The micro SD card is now identified. The recordings will be saved to the micro SD card, and we can schedule recordings in camera settings. So I'll tap OK, that's fine. We'll look at that later. We can get event alerts and get push notifications to notify when the camera detects motion. And there's the Tapo Care Cloud Services again. So we'll tap got it on there, and we already see our preview. So I'm going to tap on the pan and tilt button here, and then I'm just going to pan that up a little bit so that we're not looking at my belly. But we've also got left and right, obviously, and down. And we can do things like mark our position and save that marked position so that we can recall it later, which is going to be helpful. So we've got this marks tab, and we can tap those different marks if we create them to quickly go back to those marks. There's vertical cruise, so it's going to tilt up and down automatically. And there's also a horizontal cruise mode, so it's going to cruise across the pan range automatically. There's our Lord Vader plant pot. Now, as we pan around, I'm noticing there is a little bit of lens distortion on the camera. So if that's something that's a problem for you, it's worth mentioning. I don't think it's that big of a problem. I think I can live with that level of lens distortion, especially on a camera that we're really only planning to use to monitor the cat. Now, underneath the video preview, we've got a multi-view tab there. So if we had more than one camera, we could have a multi-view. I'll go back to single view there. We've also got a button to take a photo, and it's captured that to memory. We can take a video, and that's going to run until I tap stop as well. And it's saved that 3-second recording to memory. We can tap the speaker button here, and we can change the camera's microphone setting. It's in its recommended range, so I'm going to leave that. And we can take it full screen. Anytime you tilt your phone into landscape mode rather than in portrait mode, it takes the camera feed full screen, and we can actually see it looks really quite crisp. I mean, there's definitely some aliasing on some of the straight lines, like around the LEDs that are behind me, but it looks pretty good. It might be a bit harder to see on the recording there, but it looks really good. So we've got an auto button. So we've got auto is either between day mode and night mode. Night mode presumably turns on the infrared LEDs, which I heard the relay click to turn the infrared LEDs on, and you can see that it's gone into black and white mode. And you can probably also see, if I bring my hand quite close, the infrared LEDs are reflecting off my hand. I'll put that back into auto mode, so that's going to flick the infrared LEDs on and off as it needs to. So outside of pan and tilt, I'll tap the arrow down the left. We've got some other different things that we can do. So we've got talk, so it's going to ask us for access to the microphone, and I tap OK on that. and it's feeding back pretty bad. So I'll just turn that off so that it doesn't feed back, and we can tap to talk. And we can hold to talk in there and send our voice to the camera itself. Let me try that again. Testing. So it works. It's obviously not going to work great with me sitting right next to it, but it is what it is. There's a voice call function in there as well. So if I tap that, it's going to engage a voice call with the camera. So and you can turn the mic and speaker on or off so that you don't get the feedback, which we're getting right now. So you can actually call the camera and have a conversation with someone on the other end, which is really quite interesting, rather than just using the tap to talk function that we saw. I'll tap hang up on that. We've got privacy mode. So if I click that, it turns on privacy mode, which means streaming and recording functions are disabled to protect privacy. So we've got alarm off. If I tap that, it might make some noise. So alarm is now on. I suspect, because it's not actually making any noise right now, I suspect that that is going to trigger if it detects motion, and there's potentially some settings we can look at for that. I'm going to turn that back off. Tapo Care, we saw some stuff about Tapo Care for the cloud storage, and there's another banner for it just underneath there, and we've got playback and memory. So if I go to playback and memory, it shows no recordings, but if I and so it's asking us for access to our photos. I'm going to allow access to all photos. So in the playback section, you see it's got playback of some motion detection events in here. And in memory, these are the items that we manually recorded. So we can do things like filter them based on whether they're photos, videos, or cloud videos, whether they're favorites or unfavorites, or we can edit them. So we can tap and select, and then we can either download them, favorite them, share them, or remove them. So that share is obviously going to bring up the share sheet, and we can share that with any of our friends using social media or any of those other things. I'm just going to remove that. So we'll also remove the other one, and we can download that to the local phone as well. So the last thing to really talk about on this main screen here is the cog in the top right hand corner, which is going to take us to some settings. We have the name of the device and the model of the device, and we can change some details here. We can check the signal strength, we can check the IP address, MAC address, hardware and firmware version. So we can check for updates. It's on 1.1.12 right now. If I check for updates, that's up to date, that's all good. And we back out, we've got the icon and location. So if we wanted to change that to the bathroom, we'll hit save on that, and it's now in the bathroom. I might just change that to cat tree and hit save. I didn't see cat tree before, that's interesting. We've got the time zone, we're in UTC plus 10, so that is correct. It thinks I'm in Canberra, but I'm not. That's fine, I can live with that. The Tapo Care free trial again, we can put in a privacy mask if we have a Tapo Care subscription, which allows us to block specific zones from the camera so that it doesn't record anything in those in that privacy masked area. So again, if you have areas that you don't want to record, or there might be some sensitive information or those kinds of things, you can mask that out, but it looks like you need to have the Tapo Care set up to do that. For some camera controls here, we've got inverting the image, so you can, if you are hanging it from the ceiling, you can invert the image, and it is going to do exactly what it says, so that you can then have the camera hanging from the ceiling and it'll be the right way up. I'm obviously going to turn that off. The status LED, we can turn that off if we want, and that has worked. detection and alerts, so we can have the motion detection alert on. There's also AI detection, so we can put person detection on, or baby crying detection, so it'll use the microphone to detect if your baby is crying, which means that you could reasonably use this Tapo C210 camera as part of your baby monitoring system, and it would then send alerts to your phone. So with AI detection, that's kind of cool. There's activity notifications, so we can send rich notifications, which means it's going to send notifications with the image. And we can tell it to send notifications always or at custom times. So it's going to push notifications to the phone when your camera detects activities. There's a camera alarm, so we can set the camera to trigger a light and sound alarm when it detects activity. So you can turn that on. And there's alarm sound and alarm type. So that's gone off, and there's a white flashing LED on there, and we can change the sound to just a tone if we want to. So that's the siren sound, and there's the tone sound. So we've also got an alarm schedule, so there's custom schedule all day. I'm going to turn the alarm off because it's actually kind of annoying. Last thing is motion tracking. So that is a part of the subscription service, so we would have to sign up to the subscription service and we would be able to use motion tracking. So if it detects a person, for example, it will track that person as they move through the area where the camera is, using the pan and tilt functions. So if we tap on the motion detection, we can drill in and we can set the motion detection on or off. And we can select activity zones. We can set the motion sensitivity. The activity zones, it's only going to detect motion inside activity zones, so we can make that smaller, or we can use the full view, and we can make it smaller and add a second zone if we wanted to have multiple zones, but I'm just going to make it one big zone because that's all I really need right now. If we back out to the main camera settings page, we've got the micro SD card, and we can see that it is in good condition, and we've got loop recording turned on. So when that's enabled, new recordings are going to override previous recordings if storage is not enough. This is a fairly standard setting that you would see on most cameras that have limited internal storage, similar to what you might see on a dash cam, for example. And there's a big red button at the bottom to format the card. If we back out, we've got micro SD card recording, which is turned on. We can turn on a recording schedule, so we can say that we don't want it to record. So if we tap edit, we can say detection recording or continuous recording, and we can say that we don't want it to record. I'm actually going to edit that, and I'm going to just take that back to detection recording I'm going to leave that at detection recording between 10 and 7. So I'll save that. And that is now my recording schedule. Our video quality is set to 1080p, or we can change that up to the full 3 megapixels, which is 1296. Or we can bring that down to 720p to save data. I'm going to leave that at 1296, I think, because that means that we can then crop that later if we wanted to. I'm just going to save that. So we're grabbing the full 3 megapixel. And some advanced settings. So we've got privacy mode, which is currently off, recording audio, which is on. The power line frequency is automatic. Actually says here your camera should match your region. If you notice flickering in your video, try changing frequencies, and if you're not sure, auto is recommended. I'm going to pop that to 50 Hertz because I know that that's what we've got here. There's camera account. We can create an account for camera login via third-party portals, and then you can manage the camera and watch videos on a third-party NVR or NAS device. And it says Tapo Care works best with one of the NVR or micro SD card recording, not both. At this point, the NVR recording will be disabled. To restart recording on the NVR, remove the micro SD card from the camera. So I'm just going to back out of there for now. I don't need to worry too much about that just yet, I don't think. On-screen display settings. So it's displaying a timestamp with our year, month, day, hour, minute, second. And we can also have it display text. So what we can do is say cat camera, not canera. So save that, and that's all done. And we can display or hide the TP-Link Tapo logo. I'll leave that on, that's fine. I don't mind a little branding on there. Backing right out, we've had a look at the advanced settings for the on-screen display. There's some diagnostics we can turn on, and that's only if there's something wrong with the camera, and that's going to save some logs to the SD card. And it's recommended to disable the feature when the problem is solved. I won't turn that on right now, but I might take a look at that to see what it dumps out to the SD card. It's pan and tilt correction. The pan and tilt is based on limit switches, but I don't think the motors or the servos, whatever they're using in there, are strong enough to resist if you move them. So they might skip across some gears, and that could mean that it's out of kilter. So you might need to run that pan and tilt correction to just find those limit switches again. So that was the advanced settings. We've got share device, so we can tap and share to invite other family members to manage the device together, and they would need to have a Tapo account to do that. And the last thing is we've got auto reboot, so we can specify a time when the camera is going to reboot itself automatically. So if you are noticing that there's issues after it's been on for a period of time, you can set that up. And then there's a big red button to reboot the camera here or remove the camera as well. Now, something I'm definitely noticing a lack of here is a zoom functionality that is obvious. Full screen mode, you can pinch to zoom on there. And again, it's going to be digital zoom, much like the Kmart camera. If we go into this mode here, we can also pinch out to zoom. So pinch out and pinch in. So it does have all of the standard controls that you would expect. It does have a zoom function, but honestly, you're not going to get an optical zoom at $62. Okay, so that's the app. Now let's take a look at Home Assistant. Now, I think I mentioned before that Home Assistant integration is not native for this camera, so we're going to need to install a custom integration, and we're going to use HACS for that. So in Home Assistant, we're going to head over to HACS, and we've got 4 integrations ready for a restart already because I recently updated those. But I'm going to click on this integrations tab here, and I'm going to click explore and add repositories, and I'm going to search for Tapo. And we've got this Tapo cameras control. And there's also Tapo controller. I'm going to assume that Tapo controller is more for the switches rather than for the cameras. So I'm going to grab Tapo cameras control, and I'm going to click install this repository in HACS, and we'll hit install, and we'll see that we've got the Tapo cameras control there, and it's pending a restart. So we do need to restart our Home Assistant here in order for these changes to take effect. So we're back over on server controls. I haven't changed the configuration, so I don't need to check it. I'm just going to tap restart and OK to then restart Home Assistant. Okay, so Home Assistant's taking its time to get started back up, but we should be able to get started on the configuration. So I'm going to tap configuration, and I'm going to go to the devices and services, and we're on the integrations tab. So I'm going to tap add integration, and I'm going to search for Tapo, and we've got Tapo's camera control. So I'll click on that, and it's setting it up. So it took a little while, but it's asking me to enter the camera IP address. So if I check my IP address over on the app here, I should have a camera on 192.168.1.253. So it says, make sure to create a camera account. The camera account is created by the Tapo app at camera settings, advanced settings, camera account. And if we're using VLANs, we need to make sure 443 554 and 2020 are opened for the cameras. So I've got the IP address in here. I'm going to create a camera account on here as well. So we saw that before in advanced settings and then camera account. So there's now an account on the camera. So I'll hit submit on Home Assistant with that IP address in there. And now we're prompted for the username, which was Home Assistant, and the password, and I will hit submit on there. And it requires your cloud password for control. So this is the password you use for the Tapo cloud account with your email, unless you use the same password for cloud as your camera account. This password is not the same. Email is not needed and communication is still fully local. So this is just for the cloud account. It doesn't need to be that Tapo Care. So I'm just going to look up my password for my Casa Smart account, which does say that the email is not needed and that it's still fully local control. So we've got some final options. We can enable the motion sensor. We can automatically synchronize the time, and I think I'm going to do that. We can use the stream from Home Assistant, and we can enable sound threshold detection. I don't think we need that. Sound detection is at -50. Sound detection, how long the noise needs to be over the peak to trigger, and the time to reset the state after no new noise is overheard, so 10 seconds, and extra arguments for FFmpeg. So that FFmpeg is going to compress the stream into an MP4 stream, and we can create a custom stream link here. I'm going to tap submit on that. It's taking a little while to submit, and it's successful. So we can change the area. I'm going to pop it in the bathroom there for now, because that's where it's going. And we'll click finish. So now we have 192.168.1.253 and our Tapo cameras control. We've got one device and 3 entities. So if I click on that one device, we have the 3 entities, which are HD, motion, and SD. So if I click on that and then click on the control there, we can see that the motion is clear, so we can use that for motion detection. And if I click on HD, we've got the settings there. If I click on control, Home Assistant does take a little while to load these streams. That is all okay. I'm more than happy with that. That actually looks pretty good. So that's the full 3 megapixel stream. It's a little bit choppy, and it's a fair bit behind, but again, that's okay. Something I am noticing is that we can't get the audio feed, so I'm not sure if that's so much of a problem. Now, I will say that, so it's just past 6 o'clock. If I look here, so 27. So looking at the local time on my computer and the time that's showing up on the camera, it looks like there's around about 20 seconds of lag. Because everything's being done on the Pi, I'm not really that surprised that everything's a little bit laggy. I could probably make everything a little bit speedier or a little bit less laggy if we had a bit more hardware that we could throw at the encoding, especially because this is being encoded into an FFmpeg stream. I'll close that down. Now I am noticing that there's not really much else that we can do with the camera. We can go to an SD stream if we wanted to as well. So that is going to be standard definition rather than full HD, the full 3 megapixel capture. So this should be a little less laggy in theory. Yeah, so this looks like it's down to around 5 or 6 seconds of lag. So to summarize my thoughts on this camera, at $62 from Amazon, it's really good value for money, and it's really not that much more than I paid for this Kmart one that only does 640 by 480 nearly 10 years ago. For the pros, the sensor is pretty good. It doesn't look like it is recording on a potato. The color reproduction seems pretty good there as well. The infrared LEDs seem to do a fairly good job, and even though we had to use a non-standard custom integration, a HACS integration, to get this information into Home Assistant, it works pretty well. The setup wasn't particularly difficult. I think the value for money on this is really quite great. Based on my previous experience with TP-Link hardware, the app is unsurprisingly pretty easy to use, and it has all of the features that we would really need. Pan and tilt functions work great, and you can zoom in the app, but it doesn't zoom the camera output, I don't believe. So you're not going to affect the recordings. You might just be able to see a little bit more if you were to zoom in there. Built-in motion and AI detection to do person detection is actually really cool. For the cons here, we had to use HACS to get the data into Home Assistant. And while not a deal breaker, it does mean that it's not a native integration, and any update of Home Assistant could potentially break this integration. So that is all the time we have for this video, and I do hope that it helped you in your home automation and surveillance journey. Be sure to comment down below with a home automation idea you'd like to see me cover in a future video. Don't forget to follow HiveMind Automation on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and those links are in the video description. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up button down below to give it a like, and if you're not already subscribed, please consider subscribing now. While you're at it, if you hit the bell icon, you'll get notified each week when I release new videos. If you're currently in the market for a VPN provider, I've placed an affiliate link for NordVPN in the video description as well. I chose to partner with NordVPN because they've got the best infrastructure of any of the VPN providers I've looked into, and they have a strict no logs policy with servers all over the planet. On top of that, they've got apps for just about every platform around, both desktop and mobile. So no matter what platform you're using, you can protect your personal information while you browse the web, no matter where you are. So I do recommend getting a VPN today, and if you use my link for NordVPN below, you do help the channel out. Lastly, if you like what I'm doing here, but you're not in the market for a VPN provider, but you want to help to support the channel, there is a Buy Me a Coffee link in the video description down below. Contributions made through the Buy Me a Coffee link are put towards making more and better content for you to enjoy. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Stu from HiveMind Automation, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.